You know, one of the most important things you can take to the range with you is an IFAK. I'm going to deconstruct mine for you so you can see what's in here so you can make your own. Hey guys, it's Kelly here from Armed and Feminine, and today I have with me my trusty little IFAK. That's known as an individual first aid kit. You might see them out there as a PFAK for personal first aid kit or an AFAK for your ankle, depending on where you want to keep it. You know, I've worked in healthcare for 30 years, and I have seen a lot of interesting things come through the doors. But here, this little tiny thing can save a life, your life, and even if you need to use it for yourself, you can do that. 40% of all bleeding deaths could absolutely have been prevented by one thing, a tourniquet, and that's in here. So let's take a look what I have in my IFAK. This is all the bigger it needs to be. So this small thing has everything in here for life-saving items. You can very easily just clip this onto the back of your belt, onto your range bag, onto a backpack, wherever. But I keep mine red, and so I leave it out wide open in the open so that we can see it and if we need to use it at any time. So just going to pull this apart. So some of the most important thing that I think in here is going to be the tourniquet. This particular one is a CAT tourniquet, C-A-T, for combat application tourniquet. Very simple to use. This one happens to be a Gen 7. They do come in generations because they keep getting a little bit better. The preferred one would be the CAT or the SOFT-T, S-O-F-T-T, which is a Special Operation Forces tactical tourniquet in a wide version. So I'm not going to show you how to use these, so you could go and find those elsewhere, but this is just about the components. The most important one right here is the tourniquet. Other than that, we're going to have a hemostatic agent. This is a popular one, which is Quick Clot. And something else about Quick Clot, like I said, some physicians may or may not like this, depending on where the wound is or how deep it is. You may or may not need to use that. So the next thing is going to be a pressure dressing. This one is nicely vacuum sealed, so it takes up less space in your first aid kit here. So of course, trying to stop the bleeding, applying pressure, cutting off the supply of blood. All right, back to the tourniquet. I was showing my husband how to use this, and he said, spewed out a popular myth, which was, well, you know, if you leave that tourniquet on too long, like you're going to lose your arm or something. And that's actually a myth. There's an awesome program that's called Stop the Bleed. You should have them come to, you know, your community. They do free training on how to use all of these things. It is a myth, and they will tell you, you know, for hours this is going to be okay, and we can still save that limb. Next, we have some Occlusive Seals. These are going to work like sticky cellophane over top of the wounds. I keep two, an entry wound and an exit wound, but if you are fumbling about and they get too sticky, we have some extra sets in here, and it all still fits. Oh, first and foremost, ta-da, the shears. So, of course, we want to cut away any clothing that might be there. And then I also have in here some tape. Some Nitrile Gloves. I bought a whole box, and I just wrapped up 2 pairs to have in here. You know, we're out in the, you know, range and wilderness and dirt anyway, and we're like, you know, how sterile are we going to be in the dirt? Well, at least we can, you know, keep our hands a little germ-free too. I also keep in here a nice roll of gauze, and then I also keep a blanket because hypothermia could set in with blood loss. And so I got this at Walmart for, no kidding, like $2. So this little thing is going to keep somebody warm. So all of these pieces right here fit very, very neatly into this very tiny kit. Oh yeah, and of course the trusty Sharpie marker. Like, what aren't Sharpies good for? Actually, why is there a Sharpie marker on here? Because once you place your tourniquet, you can actually write the time that you placed on there, and medical professionals are going to appreciate knowing how long that tourniquet has been on. So all of these pieces right here, and I'm guessing, like, when I go back and do this, and I bought each of these pieces individually myself, it's probably about $80. This little bag was $8. You can get most of this stuff on Amazon. Now, if you don't want to put all this together, you can get packs that are already done. Many, many places sell them already put together, including the Well-Armed Woman that has AFAKs and PFAKs together, and many organizations too that you can find online. They can be as big or as small as you want, so they're going to run you anywhere from, you know, $80 up to gosh, you could get a really big kit if you want for $1,000, but mostly you're going to find them for around $129. This isn't all that I take to the range because, I'm a freak, been in the business for a long time. This is my boo-boo bag. It's giant. And actually, this is what we end up using a lot more often. So when someone gets slide bite or a little bit of cut, and I have things in there like an ice pack, boo-boo Band-Aids, some triple antibiotic Q-tips, some 4x4 squares, just really some first aid things. So, your first aid kit can be that big. It can be as large as that giant bag, like freaks like me, but this is certainly separate. This is separate from the boo-boo kit. This would be called the trauma kit. So if you don't have an IFAK, it's probably a good idea to have one because strange things happen. Ricochets, falls. I actually fell on the range and got a giant boo-boo, and we used some of this stuff, and it had absolutely nothing to do with guns. So trips and falls, but especially ricochets too, when somebody isn't following, all the safety rules. So it's worth the investment. Because why? It's your life. Protect it.